Action cameras. They're pretty amazing when you think about it. I mean, just look at this thing. I mean, it shoots 5.3K at 60 frames per second. However, a lot of people don't seem to realize is the amount of other work that the camera has to do in the background. You're talking about real-time processing of the image, tonal mapping, logging gyro data, logging GPS data, applying Hypersmooth, applying real-time horizon leveling. I mean, it's no wonder these units get pretty hot. However, even I'm amazed when I hear people complain that their camera overheats in 10 minutes. I mean, the most recent shoot I did was filming a crashed plane recovery. I was shooting for a good 20 minutes outdoors in 94-degree weather in 5.3K 60 frames per second with Hypersmooth turned on and using the GoPro Volta. I was in direct sunlight too and got myself a nice sunburn to go with it and pretty much filming in the very worst conditions possible. Yet my GoPro did not overheat. So why is this? And why are other people saying that their GoPros overheat in less harsh conditions? Even more importantly, is there anything you can do to prevent overheating? Well, you're watching the DemonView channel, and in this video I'm going to share with you my tips and tricks to help prevent overheating with your GoPro camera, so you can keep on filming and capture some awesome footage. Hi, welcome to the channel. If this is your first time watching, you may want to click on the subscribe button as I regularly share info, tips and tricks for shooting with your action cameras. Not only troubleshooting, but also how to set them up, how to mount them, what accessories to help you film, and generally the best ways to shoot with your camera. So click like and subscribe on those buttons below, as it really does help out with channel views and helps get this information into the hands of people that need it. It doesn't cost you a thing to do so, and it's a nice way to say, hey, thanks for sharing this info. So, on to the main point of the video, preventing overheating with your GoPro. Now, there's a lot of things that can cause your GoPro to overheat, and I'm going to try and help you troubleshoot those issues without getting over technical. So let's tackle the top things that cause your GoPro to overheat and how you can help solve that issue yourself. And number one is the SD card. The SD card choice and care is very important. If you have an SD card that's corrupt or even too slow, then your camera can have a hard time writing data to that card in an efficient, fast manner. And the side effect of too slow or a corrupt SD card is, well, you've guessed it, it's heat. So that's why I recommend using a Samsung Evo card. I've used these since the GoPro Hero 4 was released, and I use them in all my GoPro cameras. I've never had issues with them, and they're a rock solid choice for an SD card. I'll leave a link in the video description below, but honestly, that is a card you should be using. I made another video about fixing your SD card if it's corrupt, and this really does have to be done if it's corrupt. I mean, if your camera is shutting down for no reason or you're getting the dreaded SD error message, most of the time that's SD card corruption, and the fix is rather simple. So I've linked that video down below also. The second biggest source of overheating is that nice big fancy display on the back of your GoPro. Not only does it increase the processing the GoPro has to do when it displays what you're recording while you're recording it, but when it's set to 100% brightness, that is a heck of a heat generator. What are the best settings for that? Well, for one, have it automatically turn off after 60 seconds. You have eyes, you can see what you're recording and shooting, and you don't need that display to be constantly on, just generating heat and even more heat. And the other thing you can do is turn that brightness down to 10%. That's still plenty bright. I mean, it's a really bright display, and you only need it higher if you're shooting in really strong sunshine and you're wearing really dark sunglasses. Then the display could be a little bit hard to see and you might need that extra brightness, but otherwise 10% is absolutely fine. It's going to prevent overheating, and it's really going to save on your battery life too. Hypersmooth. A lot of people think that they need to have Hypersmooth set to boost, and that's just not true. Hypersmooth boost is what you should use if you're holding a GoPro in your hand and you're running over extreme terrain, jumping over boulders and logs, you have a lot of movement there, that type of thing. And, you know, when you're walking around shooting in a car from a bike, you don't need Hypersmooth set to boost. I mean, having it set to standard or even low will work sufficiently well. Not only will that keep your camera cool, it will also help preserve your battery life and apply less crop to your overall image. So yeah, don't have Hypersmooth set to boost unless you really, really need it. Horizon leveling. It can be a great tool to ensure that your shots are nice and level. However, in my experience, it works best when you're using the camera in a handheld situation, such as this. And this is because sudden changes to the gyro information that gets applied to the shots to make your horizon level. However, it's yet another process that your GoPro has to do, and it adds additional crop to your image. All of this adds to the real-time processing that your camera has to do, and that generates even more heat again. So learn to be smooth and efficient when you're shooting, and you can eventually turn this off, do nice smooth shots, and keep it level. Mounting it in a car window, and that's possibly the quickest way to overheat your camera. You may think your car is nice and cool because you have the AC on and you feel good. However, the camera is running extremely hot and it's got bright hot sunshine beating down on it without any active air cooling. This is the thing that's going to overheat your camera really quickly, so honestly the best place to mount your camera is outside your vehicle. That way when your car, bike or even airplane is moving, it's going to get that active air cooling rushing over the camera to prevent it overheating. But if you have to mount it inside your vehicle, inside the front window, here's a quick tip. Turn on the front window demister. That's going to direct the AC up the window and over the camera itself, and that is going to actually keep it cool. Not using tripod or mounted mode, and this one is a no-brainer, but it specifically applies to the GoPro Hero 10. If you're using a tripod or shooting from a static mount, then you need to be using tripod mode. When you shoot from a tripod or a static mount, then your camera doesn't need to be using Hypersmooth, it doesn't need to be logging GPS data, it doesn't need to be logging gyroscopic data. And some of these settings you can actually turn off yourself, but some of them you can't, and that's why GoPro Hero 10 has the tripod mounted mode. It disables all of those options from running in the background and makes sure your camera stays as cool as possible. Resolution and frame rates, and this is the biggest source of overheating. The higher the resolution and frame rate, the hotter your camera will run. So learn when to use high resolution and frame rates and when not to. Vlogging, getting close-ups of your face talking into the camera, do you really need to record that in 5.3K and show every single pore, wrinkle, freckle and nose hair? Of course you don't. Use high resolutions for epic vistas when you're showing scenery or if you need to do a zoom in post-production. But when talking directly into the camera, lower that resolution. Same with the frame rates. Unless you need to slow your footage down for some awesome slow motion shots, then shoot at 30 frames per second or even 24 frames per second. There's no need to do a blog video shooting in 2.7K at 240 frames per second. Getting on a ski lift for a 20-minute trip, why would you shoot that in 4K at 120 frames per second? Look, it's a rule of thumb really. High frame rates, shoot in short bursts for some awesome slow motion action, but for everything else, just shoot in low frame rates. Powering externally, and a lot of us do that, and it's really handy if you're trying to get those extra long time-lapse shots, night-lapse shots, or just filming something for an extended period of time, like a long car journey. However, not a lot of people seem to know that if you're going to power your device externally, then remove the internal battery first. Not only does dust make your camera run cooler, but it also improves the air circulation inside, which actually helps with cooling. At the end of the day, the GoPro is an awesome action camera and it can create some excellent once-in-a-lifetime footage. Knowing how to use the camera, where it excels and what its limitations are, those are the things that are really going to help you get the best footage available. So I really hope you found these tips very helpful and that you can apply these settings and get some awesome shots on your camera. Thanks for watching, I really do appreciate it, and please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It only takes a second or two to do and it really does help with the channel. So thanks again and I hope you come back soon.